to the top of the bridge deck.
Okay. And what happened there?
We stopped up there, and we were told that the vehicle had exited at East 72nd Street, and a passenger may have fled from the vehicle at that location.
When you got to the overpass of Eddy Road and 90,
Yes, sir.
were there any other police vehicles there besides you and Barchek?
Yes, there was a Cleveland police vehicle.
Did any of you get out of your vehicles?
No, sir.
You all stayed in your vehicles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so what happened when you got that dispatch?
We were told the vehicle had exited at 72nd, and the passenger may have fled from the vehicle. Officer Barchek and I responded to East 72nd Street, just south of I-90, to possibly deploy the canine, see if Cleveland needed a track. When we arrived at that location, there was no one there.
Okay, what was your purpose for joining, well, I should say assisting the city of Cleveland? What did you think your role was at this point?
I believe that at that time that I could possibly assist with a canine track should the passengers of that vehicle leave the vehicle on foot.
Okay. And when you proceeded to 72nd, where was Patrolman Barchek?
He was in a car behind me.
Okay. And what occurred when you got to 72nd and 90?
We stopped, saw Cleveland officers continue up East 72nd Street, southbound. Our dispatcher notified us that the pursuit had gone south on 72nd, and she began calling out the direction of the pursuit as it was relayed to her through Cleveland Dispatch.
Okay, and what did you do at that point?
We proceeded south on 72nd Street and attempted to run a parallel course to the pursuit to remain close to be able to deploy the canine unit if we needed to.
Okay, and the information you were getting regarding the pursuit was coming from where?
Through my dispatcher.
And do you know where your dispatcher was getting his or her information?
She was on a telephone with CCOMs, with Cleveland Police Dispatch.
Okay, sir, did you follow any police officers going up towards south from 72nd? Any CPD, I should say?
Only there were some cars went south on 72nd Street. The pursuit had gone to the west and had already turned south. We never saw the pursuit. It was already gone by the time we arrived at East 72nd and I-90. So we went south, and we went to the east and took East 79th Street south, attempting to maintain a parallel course to the pursuit to stay in the area.
Okay, and so where was Officer Barchek at that point?
Behind me.
He was behind you?
Yes.
There ever come a point in time where you got separated?
If we did, it was only by a few, hopefully by a few car lengths. Standard canine deployment is for 2 officers. I handle the dog and someone comes as an escort with me. You always try to maintain 2 officers for any canine deployment.
Okay. And sir, then what happened after that?
We went south. I could hear that the pursuit was moving south and going through a bunch of side streets, some of which I recognized, some I did not. And they were moving generally. They had gone to the east of us, towards between 72nd and 55th, but the pursuit seemed to be generally moving south. So we took main thoroughfares that I knew in the area that went all the way through south to main thoroughfares east-west.
And at some point, did you jump up on Euclid?
Yes, sir.
And then what happened?
We saw the pursuit. I never saw the suspect vehicle, but I saw a large number of police cars going down Euclid Avenue. To the east, we pulled in behind, and we followed down Euclid Avenue.
And how many cars did you let go by? How many police cars did you let go by before you joined in it?
A few, quite a few. A number 6, 7.
Okay.
I came to a full stop at Lakefront and Euclid, and I had to wait for a minute to be able to turn onto Euclid Avenue.
Okay, and sir, was your vehicle equipped with a dash cam?
Yes, sir.
And was the dash cam fully functional at that point?
The camera portion of my dash cam works, but the audio pack does not.
And sir, have you had an opportunity to review that dash cam?
I have seen it.
Judge, for the record, the State's Exhibit 1187. So, sir, this is your dash cam?
I believe so.
And it doesn't have any audio?
No.
Okay, so it just has video. And sir, what speeds were you going through these streets?
40 to 50 miles an hour on long straightaways. We would slow down. I wasn't in direct pursuit behind the vehicle. I was trying, and I was having all my information relayed to me, so I realized there was a lag from the time that I got the information to where the vehicles had reported their location.
Okay. And I see the Cleveland Police cruiser there.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what that cruiser is doing right now?
He's standing in position like we were in case the pursuit came and got off at Eddy Road.
Okay. So now, we're going where now? We're going on...
We were just stopped on the Eddy Road bridge deck. The report has come in that the vehicle exited at 72nd and the passenger may have fled. So I turned west, swung the car around, got on I-90 westbound, and we were entering I-90 westbound.
And Judge, just for the record, this video is about 10 minutes long. Sir, at this point in time, Officer Barczyk is behind you?
Yes, sir.
Seems like you're getting a little fast on the freeway. You know how fast you're going on the freeway?
I can't recall the exact speed.
You have an estimate?
I would imagine my speeds were approaching 80 miles an hour as I was responding from Eddy to 72nd Street.
And did you have your lights on, sir?
Yes, sir.
And by the way, your car was fully marked?
Yes, sir.
Police car? What street are you going up now?
We just exited I-90 at East 72nd Street, and this is just south of 72nd Street.
And I see
Just south of I-90.
see a lights in front of you. Do you know what city that cruiser was from?
I believe that's a Cleveland police vehicle.
The CPD cruiser that was with you on the overpass, did that CPD cruiser join the chase as far as you know?
I couldn't, I don't know. We're turning left on St. Clair. And this is south on East 79th.
Sir, are you familiar with this area?
I'm familiar.
You know what street you just turned on there?
I'm not positive. I don't know every street in the neighborhood.
And these are residential areas we're going through right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
You know what street this is?
I believe this is East 79th Street.
You know what street this is you just turned on?
I believe this is Superior.
We saw a number of police cars going by, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to combine your picture with Barczak's audio. His audio worked, but the picture wasn't as good as this. Obviously, your audio doesn't work.
Sir, during this period of time, are you getting information from dispatch regarding the nature of the pursuit? I mean, I should say how it's going on?
Yes, so we're receiving updates through Cleveland, through our dispatcher, of the location of the pursuit, the directions of travel.
Is there any other information that you heard from the dispatch besides the fact that shots were fired at a police officer?
All my information that I received came through my dispatcher. We're told that passenger may have fled on foot at East 72nd. And when we were on Euclid Avenue, we were told by our dispatcher that the passenger was loading a weapon in the vehicle, loading a gun.
I saw you just went off a main road and you're going on a side street here.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you're talking about when you're paralleling?
Yes, sir.
And define paralleling for the court, would you?
Instead of trying to catch up to a fleeing vehicle, if you know its direction of travel, you can run a roads adjacent to in the same direction so that you're in the area. Should that vehicle turn off, it would turn towards you, or it may turn away, and then you would have to adjust your course as well.
Now we're at Euclid Avenue.
Yes, sir.
I see the police cars are on the other side of the road also.
Yes, sir. That vehicle appears to be on the other side.
Did you see any traffic control by any of the police officers during this chase?
Further down, I believe we're going to encounter police vehicles blocking intersections.
Sir, I see a number of different police lights in front of you. Did you tell how many cars were in front of you?
I couldn't tell an exact number.
Did we just go through an intersection where they were blocked? Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what road is that you just turned on?
We just turned south on Lee Road.
Okay. Do you know where you were going at that point?
I knew Lee Road runs south up the hill all the way up into Cleveland Heights. The pursuit had turned off of Euclid Avenue prior to that and gone south already.
Cars are going off the onto the grass at that point, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you park your car right there?
Yes, sir. I stopped on Lee Road.
Okay. At that moment, sir, when you came to a stop, did you hear anything?
Yes, sir.
What did you hear?
Gunshots.
Okay.
I immediately began exiting my vehicle, and I heard gunshots.
And sir, so right at that moment that you stopped, you heard the gunshots?
Yes, sir.
Before you got out of your car?
Yes, sir. I can't recall if I heard the first gunshot as the door opened or if I had heard it just before, but I almost immediately exited my vehicle.
When did you first see the suspect's vehicle?
At this time.
Right when you got out of the car?
When I stopped the car, I was parallel to the suspect's vehicle. I could view it out of my passenger window.
Sir, court.
Sure.
Come down. If you come down here, sir, there's a model here.
Yes, sir.
And let's say this is your car. Okay, could you show the court where you stopped your car in relation to this model?
If this was Lee Road, I would have been about here.
That's the first time you noticed the victim's vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And in what state was the victim's vehicle at that point?
It was in with Cleveland police vehicles. It was stopped.
Is this consistent with how you saw it at that point?
It appears very similar.
In your view, could this vehicle have gotten away?
I was too far away. I couldn't tell from that point.
So you don't know whether the victim's vehicle was trapped at that point?
No, I did not.
Okay. So you parked your car this way, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you could go back onto the stand, can we play the rest of the video? Just play the rest of the video before we go into this. Now you're out of your car at this point, correct?
I believe I have exited the vehicle already.
All right, so did that video accurately depict and reflect what occurred that night when you were pursuing that, or did you join the pursuit?
Yes, sir.
So there came a point in time where you were interviewed, correct?
Yes, sir.
And by whom?
I was interviewed by Cuyahoga County Sheriff's deputies.
So you're showing us the marked States Exhibit 37. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
That is location of where the pursuit terminated.
Okay, and I see there's some markings here. Is that your handwriting here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what does that reflect?
They asked me to position where my vehicle was stopped the night of the pursuit. Lee Road is not in that photograph. It is continued at the bottom of that photograph, so I had to draw off the edge of the paper where I stopped.
And what was your vehicle number?
1714.
And coming down here, is this where you indicated to the sheriff's deputy where you were at?
Yes.
And then what is all this here?
When I exited my vehicle, I moved towards the suspect vehicle. As shots were ringing out, I realized that I was in a bad location, possible crossfire situation, and I moved behind a gray Ford that had been stopped over there. That's where that arrow goes, and that's what that other drawing is.
So this is that gray, what was that?
It was a gray Ford, I believe.
With the court's permission. Could you come down again, sir, to
Yes,
the
sir.
model? And here's another vehicle. Could you show us where that vehicle was that you went to?
If this was my police car, there was a gray Ford up in this area here.
Okay, and the distance between here and here, approximately how far that is?
About 400 feet.
Okay. And you ran from where again?
I ran from my police vehicle to this vehicle.
Okay. And what did you do there?
I got down behind that vehicle.
Now, when going from here to here, did you see anything that was going on here?
I could not see anything directly. I was too far away.
And when you're going from this car to this car, were shots still ringing out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was there anybody else by this vehicle?
There was another officer down behind the rear of this vehicle by the rear tire. I was down near the front of it, closer to the front
So
of
if
it.
I put this is the CPD officer that was there about,
Yes.
and you went from here to here?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you behind that vehicle?
10 seconds, 20 seconds, I'm not sure.
Okay. And during this period of time you're behind that vehicle, what is going on?
There is gunfire ringing out.
Okay. Then what happened?
I was behind this vehicle. I heard someone yell, "Cease fire." The shots came to a slow down. They yelled, "Cease fire" again. Shots came to a stop, and I moved from this vehicle, from behind this vehicle.
Come over here if you would. Show us where you... So you heard ceasefire?
Yes, sir.
Was it a male or female yelling that?
I believe it was a male voice.
Okay. Was that after the shots stopped or during the shots?
During the shot.
Okay. And how many times was ceasefire, you heard ceasefire?
I heard ceasefire twice.
Okay. And the first one was when the shots were going on?
Yes, sir.
How about the second one?
Second one was a few seconds later. They yelled ceasefire, and the shots stopped.
And sir, could you describe the volley of shots?
I've described it in my statement as like a crescendo in music. As I exited my vehicle, shots were ringing out. They were fairly random. As I began moving forward, the shots became more frequent, and I realized I was in a bad position here. As I moved and got down behind this vehicle, the volume rose of number of shots, and then it began tapering down.
And then what?
I heard ceasefire. There was a few more shots, and then I heard ceasefire again, and the shooting came to a stop.
Okay, sir. And you stated this to the deputy sheriff when he interviewed you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. The description of shots?
Yes, sir.
And sir, with looking at this, refresh your recollection as to the exact nature of how you heard the shots?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess I can mark this as things exhibits wherever we're at.
1190.
Sure, showing this marked for State's Exhibit number 1190. Do you recognize this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
This is my statement to the sheriff's office.
Okay. And you reviewed that before, correct?
Yes.
For its accuracy?
Yes.
And you found it accurate?
I did.
Because that is actually not your written statement, but what you told the sergeant, correct?
Yes.
And then second page, sir, at the top. Does it describe what you told the officer regarding the volley of shots?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Could you please take for the court what it says?
Excuse me for 1 second.
Sure.
For the record, is that his statement, the Form M statement that he made, or is that the sheriff's?
That's the sheriff's man.
That's the one you're asking him to review?
Right. If you could, sir, read that one sentence.
States here, he remembers there being 2 volleys of shots fired, but it seemed to him that the first volley got louder like an orchestra, then lower with a slight pause, then another volley of shots getting louder again.
Does it accurately reflect how you remember the shots fired at that night?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, sir, you're at the front bumper of that vehicle right there?
Yes, sir.
And do you have a weapon in your hand?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
I have a Remington 870 shotgun
And where'd you get that from?
in the overhead rack from when I exited my police cruiser.
And where's your dog?
He's in the back of my car.
By the name, what's the name of your dog?
His name is Eric.
Okay, so Eric's in the back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell the court what you did then.
After the shots came to a halt, I moved from this location up towards the suspect vehicle.
Okay, where? Put yourself where you were.
This is where I came to a stop.
All the way up there.
All the way up there.
Now, in this area here, sir, were there any other police cars? If you remember?
I do not recall.
Okay. So you ran all the way up here.
Yes.
Did you have your gun drawn?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do when you got to the suspect's vehicle?
I got into a crouching position. As I came forward, I was looking for a position of cover, to be a cover officer for an arrest team. And as I approached this police vehicle, I could see that it was full of bullet holes, and I decided not to get behind that vehicle, which left me very few choices. I wound up at the front bumper of the suspect vehicle here, and I crouched down with my Remington 870 shotgun.
Could you demonstrate to the court what your crouch?
Tried to get as low as possible. That was not a good position to be in. I had moved to a bad position. I got down as low as I could like this, with the weapon shouldered and the light on.
Now, why did you say you're in a bad position there?
Tactically, that is a bad position. I crossed a long opening, and I moved far too close to the suspect vehicle for a good cover position.
And do you know the approximate distance between here and there?
About 300 feet.
And how long do you think it took you to go from here to there?
I'm going to estimate 10 seconds, 12 seconds.
So you're running
Yes, sir. As fast as I could.
fast as you could,
Yes, sir.
with your shotgun up.
Yes, sir.
So when you got to the vehicle here and you crouched down, were you touching the bumper?
My knees were touching the bumper at times, yes.
Okay. And you said this vehicle, you saw bullet holes in it. Where did you see bullet holes in this vehicle?
There were bullet holes in the windshield and hood of this vehicle that I observed.
Did you observe any bullet holes in this police car?
I do not recall bullet holes, seeing bullet holes in that police
And
car.
how about the victim's car?
Yes, sir. There were bullet holes in the victim's car.
And how was the lighting?
This was a parking lot with overhead street lighting. In the area, it was lit.
Okay.
I was able to see that.
Were the flashers of the cars all going on at that point?
Yes, sir.
And despite those flashes, you still could see what was going on?
Yes.
Okay. So when you got to the bumper, what occurred?
When I got to the bumper of the vehicle, I remained down in the crouching position. That I observed that the passenger's head and shoulders slumped over, moved in the vehicle. I called out that the passenger moved, and I remained crouched in that position.
I mean, did you yell that out?
I yelled out very loud.
And was there any response?
No, not that I was aware of. I was very focused. I didn't look to see if anybody was doing anything about that.
Did anybody yell back to you? Like stand down or everything's over or anything like that?
After a few seconds, somebody called out that this is a crime scene. And at that point, I stood up and I very carefully backed up, trying not to touch anything at the scene.
Why? What was that? What were you?
There were bullet casings on the ground, all in this area.
Did you touch any of them?
No,
When you ran up, did you kick any of them?
I wasn't paying any attention at all. I may have. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Now you said, could you see inside the victim's car?
Yes.
And were there gunshots on the windshield?
Windshield had a number of gunshots and was heavily spiderwebbed.
Okay. Could you make out whether the gender of the people inside the vehicle?
I could not see clearly.
Could you make out the race of the people inside the vehicle?
Yes. I believe there were two black individuals inside.
Okay. And the passenger, you said, what did you describe to the court what you actually saw at that point?
The head and shoulders of the passenger seemed to slump over.
To which side?
To the passenger side of the vehicle.
So if I'm the passenger on the right side, you saw a motion like this
Yes.
towards that window.
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, you indicated that somebody else, this is a crime scene?
Yes.
Were you concerned about your partner at that point?
Yes.
And by the way, when you were running up here, did you see anybody on the trunk or the roof of the car?
No, sir.
Of these two cars, the suspect's car and this police vehicle?
No, I didn't see anyone.
Did you see where any other police officers were in this area?
The police officers, I could see that there were officers up in this area above the vehicle, and that there were police officers in a ring shape back behind this.
Did you see any police officers behind this vehicle here?
I did not.
Did you notice any police officers behind this vehicle?
I did not.
Any police officers in this area?
I do not recall.
Okay. And could you describe the atmosphere right at the point where you said there was a crime scene?
It was a very tense situation.
Okay. So what did you do after somebody yelled this is a crime scene?
I immediately began backing out of the scene the way I had come in. And then I located Officer Barchek, my partner.
Where was Officer Barchek?
Officer Barchek, I had come out of my police car and gone to the left. Officer Barchek had stopped behind me, and he had gone to the right.
Okay. So, did you find him?
Yes, I did.
And what did you ask him any questions?
I asked him if he was okay. I asked him if he had fired his weapon. He stated that he was fine, that he had not fired his weapon. There were more officers arriving at the scene, beginning to move up to the front towards the suspect vehicle. Officer Barchek and I returned to our vehicles.
Did you check your vehicle for anything?
Yes, sir.
What did you check your vehicle for?
I checked my vehicle for bullet holes.
Okay. Now, you indicated to me that you mentioned crossfire at some point, go from here to there. How did that idea get into your head?
I could not see directly officers firing. There were a lot of flashing strobe lights back here behind the suspect vehicle. But as I came around the front of my vehicle and the number of shots was increasing, I realized that I was possibly in a crossfire situation with officers behind the vehicle firing in my direction.
Okay, so you were concerned that shots were being fired this way down.
Yes, sir.
Did you feel any bullets go by you?
No, sir.
After checking your car for bullet holes, were there any bullet holes in your car?
There were none, sir.
How about in patrolling bar checks?
No, sir.
Okay. You can. So did you make a police report on this regarding your activities for the city of Bracknell?
Yes, I did, sir.
So you filled out what do you call that form?
It's a departmental informational form. We call it the Form M.
Okay.
Don't know why.
And so you filled that out as to your activities at that night, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you were interviewed by somebody from the sheriff's department, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when that was?
It was a few days later. I don't recall the
So it
exact.
was right after.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is where State's Exhibit 37, this is what you filled out at that point, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there come a point in time where investigators from the prosecutor's office made a statement with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could we go to 37A, please? Okay, so this is a little different. What's different about this 37A from 37?
My police vehicle is a little further back on Lee Road, under a more detailed line of questioning by the gentleman from the prosecutor's office. I determined that my vehicle was a little bit back further. It was not so much of a hook around to the gray vehicle as it was a slice to the left when I came around the front of my vehicle.
Do you remember when that interview was done?
I don't recall the exact date.
It was sometime after the incident, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you gave a more detailed statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are a little bit of differences between the statement you gave the sheriff's department and what you gave the investigators, the prosecutor's office, correct?
They should be very similar, but like I say, they asked me to place my police car on a photograph where the street that I was on is not even in the photograph. It was difficult for me to get the exact placement. Under a more detailed line of questioning, I realized that the vehicle should have been drawn further back on Lee Road.
So you say more detailed.
Yes, sir.
So there are more details in your second statement than your first statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you said it took you approximately what? From here to here to run from here to here?
Yes, sir.
How long?
10 to 15 seconds?
You run as fast as you can?
Yes, sir.
Once you got here, you said your knees were touching the bumper, correct?
Yes, sir.
How long were you here before you saw the passenger slump to the right side?
A few seconds. 5 seconds?
So pretty quickly.
Yes, sir.
And sir, when you were running from here to here, were you able to see what was going on up here?
I couldn't see directly, no.
When you got down here, were you able to see what was going on up here?
No, I did not come out from behind the gray vehicle.
So you were behind cover
I was down hard behind cover, yes, sir.
until the shot stopped,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes,
You
sir.
weren't going to run from here to there when the shots were going on, were you?
No, sir.
Why is that?
Like I said, I took cover because I believed I was in a dangerous crossfire position. And when I got to the gray Ford, I remained down behind that front portion of the vehicle until the shots had come to a complete stop.
All right, thank you, sir. No more further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Do you have any cross-exam, Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning, sir.
Sarge, would it be a fair statement that although you characterized the crossfire situation as shots coming from police officers behind the suspect vehicle, at the time of the incident, November 29, 2012, you really don't know whether any of those shots could have been ringing out from the occupants of the suspect vehicle?
No, I did not. I could not tell where they were coming from.
So, to go back to the beginning, Sarge, would you agree that you got the radio broadcast from your dispatcher on November 29, 2012?
Yes.
And by the nature of that broadcast, you felt that this was a very serious situation?
Yes, sir.
And you responded because you felt that you could be of assistance to the Cleveland officers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your state of mind was that the Cleveland police officers had been shot at by suspects in the vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there was more than one person in the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Is that one of the highest priority assignments that officers respond to?
Yes, sir.
Is it a dangerous assignment?
Yes, it would be.
And you, in fact, left the city of Brelo, correct?
I did, sir.
And during the course of your travels, as we saw on the dash cam video, you saw a number of Cleveland police cars, correct?
Yes, I did.
I take it as a fair statement that in spite of the number of officers that you saw and the number of cars that you saw, you didn't make an independent determination that, hey, they got it, I'm going to back off because they got a lot of police cars here.
No, sir.
Correct?
No, sir. And one of the reasons that I remained with the pursuit was K-9 is a somewhat specialized unit. I believed I could be of aid should those individuals in the vehicle flee from the vehicle.
Okay. And I wasn't criticizing you for that. I just wanted to point out that you saw a number of Cleveland police officers responding in zone cars, correct?
Yes, sir.
What's your best estimate as to the number of police cars that you saw responding?
I saw
Over 20?
Yes, sir.
And there were other agencies, right?
Yes, sir.
East Cleveland,
Yes, sir.
Bracknell.
Yes, sir.
You see any highway patrol vehicles?
I did, sir.
Sheriff's Department vehicles?
I don't recall seeing any Sheriff's Department vehicles until after the pursuit had come to a stop and we were in the area.
Do you see any RTA vehicles?
I don't recall directly seeing an RTA vehicle.
But nonetheless, what you observed did not trigger in your mind that it would be appropriate as a matter of police tactics to terminate your assistance, correct?
No, sir.
And you continue to go to the location because you felt you might be able to provide assistance for, among other reasons, you had a K-9, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you did so by basically paralleling the pursuit, right?
Yes, sir.
There were other Cleveland police officers who were also paralleling the pursuit, correct?
I'm unaware. I could not communicate directly with Cleveland police officers that evening. All of my information regarding the pursuit came to me through my dispatcher being relayed through Cleveland Dispatch.
Well, sir, because you were paralleling, did it dawn on you or did you take it that there were other Cleveland police officers that were not necessarily in a direct route in a caravan, so to speak, but they were going down different streets?
It was my understanding, and I observed numerous police vehicles go in several directions.
So they were basically converging providing coverage, correct?
That was my understanding.
In police parlance, would it ring true to you that all these other cars were basically putting themselves into a position that they could help or respond in the event that the suspects bailed out of the vehicle?
That was my understanding.
Is that what you do as a police officer?
Yes, sir.
Is that what police officers do?
Yes, sir.
So you ultimately respond, and we see the video, and it speaks for itself, but when you're pursuing behind the police officers from Cleveland and other jurisdictions, their overheads are flashing, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you saw that glare that comes from the emergency flashing lights, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that is a common experience, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the video speaks for itself as to what's presented there, correct?
Yes, it's
In terms of the glare and the distracting nature of it, correct?
yes, sir.
So you ultimately respond to the location. Did you have any idea that it was going to end where it did?
No, I did not.
Okay. So that was something that was unpredictable, right?
Yes, sir.
Was your heart beating pretty fast?
Yes, sir.
Were you afraid?
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
Became apparent that it was a deadly force situation. I took my shotgun out of the rack and took it with me.
So that's indicative of how you perceived the danger that night by virtue of the fact that you grabbed your shotgun.
Yes, sir.
So you ultimately came to a stop, and ultimately at the completion of these events, there came a time that you gave a statement to investigators, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I think from your testimony, you indicated that you traveled from an area where I'm pointing to where you positioned your vehicle.
Yes, sir.
You took cover by this other police vehicle, and then you did basically a 100-yard dash.
Yes,
If
sir.
my arithmetic's correct, from 300-400 feet, it's like a football field, right?
Yes, sir.
And you got up to that suspect vehicle, correct, in a crouching position?
Yes, sir.
And by your own admission, you placed yourself in a bad tactical position,
Yes, sir.
correct? Well, why did you do that?
When I began moving forward, it was my intention to provide cover. I did not have a exact location where I was headed to. As I was moving forward, I realized that I want to get behind something. When I observed the police car to the right of that location was full of bullet holes, I decided not to get behind that.
Okay. So when you were running this 100-yard dash, you were running into danger.
Yes, sir.
You were running into harm's way.
Yes, sir.
And it was unknown to you what you would be confronting when you got there.
Yes, sir.
Even though the shots stopped, could they have begun to ring out again?
Yes, sir.
Did that thought ever dawn on you?
That's why I moved forward.
Okay. So if you were concerned potentially of shots ringing out again and may be coming in your direction, why would you advance and move forward?
I was of the mindset that I was going to provide cover for an arrest team or cover for the officers. Should those suspects be alive, still be in the fight, I did not have any idea what the situation was at the car. I could not see from where I was what was going on exactly up front.
Sarge, from my perspective, you ran into danger and harm's way because you were trying to do your job. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Was there any script or training that you followed to the letter and T when you reacted?
No, sir.
You basically were confronted with a dangerous situation and you followed your instincts and responded to help.
Yes,
Would that be a
sir.
fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And you did so in such a degree where you put yourself right in front of that suspect vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in your statement, you indicated that you felt that they were still a threat, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, Sarge, your statement May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Sarge, showing you what's been marked as Defendant Exhibit B. There's 2 police reports in there, and I'd ask you to look at them and identify them if you can.
Your Honor, is it okay if I get my reading glasses?
If you need him to see, he said, is it okay if I get my reading glasses? So we'll go off the record for a moment. Just let me know when you're done perusing them and you're ready to answer this question, and tell me, and then we'll go back on the record.
Yes, sir.
So you've looked at it?
I'm complete, Your Honor.
We're back on the record. Well, hold on. We're back on the record.
Sarge, have you had a chance to review those 2 reports?
Yes, sir.
Would it be a fair statement that the first police report in Defendant's Exhibit D is your report of your activities on a Form M, which is a Bracknell Police Department form, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you made this report on December the 4th, 2012, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is that your signature on page 2?
Yes, sir.
And would it be an accurate statement that what's indicated there on the first page is basically setting forth the stage as to receiving the assignment from dispatch and your response?
Yes, sir.
And then when we turn to page 2, that's where you put yourself at the scene and describe your activities, correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree that the first paragraph on page 2 talks about your arrival at the location of the school?
Yes, sir.
And the next 2 paragraphs talk about the events that you described in your own words that occurred thereafter, correct?
Yes, sir.
Could you please, for the record, read the second and the last paragraph where you describe what happened at the scene?
As we arrived, Patrolman Barczyk informed dispatch of shots fired at our location. As we exited our cars and moved towards the suspect vehicle, I moved southward to cover behind a gray car, and Patrolman Barczyk moved northward to cover behind trees. No shots were fired by any Bracknell officers. After an unknown officer shouted for ceasefire and the shooting stopped, I moved into a cover position at the front of the suspect vehicle. I confirmed the scene was secure, suspects were down, still in the car, that no officers had been injured and no Bracknell officers had fired any shots. I advised dispatch of our situation. At the request of Cleveland police officers, we moved back from the area so they secured the scene further. All units cleared at 23:04 hours and returned to the village.
Now, Sarge, that was your statement on the Form M to Chief Richard
Dolbo. Yes, sir. Dolbow.
And he's the chief of the Bracknell Police Department, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's your signature there?
Yes, sir.
And at that time you were a patrol officer, correct?
Yes, I was.
Now, Sarge, the next document is what Mr. Gutierrez directed your attention to refresh your recollection.
Yes, sir.
And that's a report of an interview that occurred with yourself and Detective David Jacobs and, at the time, Detective Sergeant Clifford Pinkney of the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that interview occurred on December 5th, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it took place at the Brattenall Police Department?
Yes, sir.
And again, would it be a fair statement that the first page of that report, and again, so the record's clear, Sarge, this report is a report authored by Detectives Jacob and Sergeant Pinkney, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's a summary of the interview and the things that you told them, correct?
Yes, sir.
So page 1 of my document, which is Defendant's Exhibit D and State's Exhibit 1190, if I have it correct. That represents the report we're going to speak of now, okay?
Yes, sir.
The first page, would it be a fair statement, summarizes what you told those detectives relative to how you first got involved in the incident.
Yes, sir.
And the very last paragraph starts off with their summarization of what you indicated relative to your arrival at the school, correct?
Yes, sir.
So why don't you start and read that last paragraph, which you told the two investigators from the Sheriff's Department.
Yes, sir. K-9 Officer Flanagan goes on to say that the pursuit ended in a parking lot of a school, and when he exited his vehicle, shots were already being fired. He made his way to the front of his vehicle with his shotgun, then made his way to a gray Taurus. K-9 Officer Flanagan said he did not have a shot, so he stayed behind the gray Taurus until someone yelled, "Cease fire." He noticed a bunch of bullet holes in a CPD black Charger's hood. He recalls it being approximately 30 seconds from the time he exited his vehicle to someone yelling, "Cease fire." After he heard "cease fire," he made his way to the front of the suspect vehicle with his shotgun. He remembers there being 2 volleys of shots fired, but it seemed to him that the first volley got louder like an orchestra, then lower with a slight pause, and then another volley of shots getting louder again.
Continue. We're on page 2, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so there's just one last paragraph of that report. Why don't you finish reading that?
K-9 officer said someone yelled, "This is a crime scene," so he exited the area and went to check on Patrolman Barczyk. They conducted a welfare check on each other, and he asked Patrolman Barczyk was he okay and if he had fired any rounds. Patrolman Barczyk told him that he was okay and he did not fire any rounds. K-9 Officer Flanagan then advised dispatch of the situation, and he and Patrolman Barczyk cleared the scene around 2300 hours and returned to the station. K-9 Officer Flanagan said he did not fire a shot, and once back at the station he did a Form 1 for his agency. K-9 Officer Flanagan stated that he has not spoken to anyone other than his brass regarding this incident.
I'm sorry, anyone other than?
His brass regarding this incident.
And is that a fair summarization of what you told those two investigators?
Yes, sir.
You've talked to your partner at the time, Officer Barczyk, correct?
Yes, sir.
You talked to him the night of the incident and after the incident, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated, and it was summarized, at least in this report from the Sheriff's Department, I'm not sure if it was in your initial report, but you recall that there was a slight pause between the 2 volleys, correct?
Yes, sir.
And from speaking with your partner, you've discovered, have you not, that he didn't detect the pause. He thought it was one continuous series of gunfire. Objection?
Overruled.
If you know.
I couldn't say. I did not directly discuss that with
You're shaking
Patrolman.
your head yes, and now you kind of...
No, sir. I did not directly discuss that exact issue with Patrolman Barczyk.
Okay, so the 2 of you, after this incident happened, you never spoke about it?
No, we discussed the issue.
Okay. Did Barczyk tell you that he thought there was not a pause, but then after having listened to the audio, he discovered that there was in fact a slight pause?
Objection?
Overruled.
Okay. So his report and his statement and his testimony will speak for itself, but it's your recollection that the 2 of you did not speak relative to the issue as to whether or not there was a pause or not?
We did not directly discuss that issue.
Okay. So were the events that you've testified to about on December the 4th fresher in your mind than they were in October of 2014?
Yes, sir.
And there's been a fair amount of pretrial publicity in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you generally followed the news about the events in this case?
I have tried not to watch any of the...
You can't help but not be barraged with it though, right?
It's hard to escape.
Okay. And do you find sometimes you say to yourself, it's hard to separate your recollection from that night to a couple days later to now 2 years later?
No, sir.
You can't separate your different recollections?
I only have one recollection, sir.
Okay. There came a time that you went down to the prosecutor's office and you were interviewed in preparation for trial, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was in October of 2014?
Yes, sir.
When you first arrived at the prosecutor's office, who did you speak to?
Prosecutor Gutierrez.
And you went into his office or a conference room?
I believe we met at his office.
Was there anyone else present?
Yes, sir.
Who was present?
Investigators from the county prosecutor's office.
And how many investigators were present?
There were 2.
And that was Bill Evans and his partner?
I don't directly recall their names either.
Investigator DeSimon, Robert DeSimon, ring a bell?
Sounds familiar, sir.
Okay. So you were interviewed about the events, correct?
Yes, sir.
They asked you a lot of questions.
Yes, sir.
They asked you what you saw and heard, correct?
Yes, sir.
They asked you if you saw anyone on the hood of the car.
Yes, sir.
And they asked you if you saw any movements in the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Now, when this interview occurred, did they tell you that they're recording this and they want your statement as to what happened?
Yes, sir.
Was your interview recorded?
I believe it was.
Would move for production of the recording.
Do you have a transcript of it?
Judge, I don't believe that was checked with the detectives. I don't think it was recorded, Your Honor. That's my belief. If it was, we would turn it over, but we'll double check. I don't believe that was recorded.
Well, here's what we'll do. We'll find that out relatively quickly, but if necessary, Officer Flanagan can be recalled if there is a transcript or a tape, but why don't you continue with the cross at this point?
Thank you, Your Honor. Sarge, what makes you think that it was recorded, that interview?
They moved us to, we left off Prosecutor Gutierrez's office, and they took me to a conference type room. I assumed that it was that's why we went there, that there was a recording.
Okay. So you assumed that, but did you see any recording device put down in front of you?
No, sir.
Okay. And did you see any camera equipment in the room?
Not that I observed directly.
Okay. And that's where your statement was obtained, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, we've had a number of interviews that were conducted in this case with BCI of Cleveland police officers, and all those were video recorded. I take it that your interview with the county, the Cuyahoga County Prosecuting Office investigators was not recorded now from your testimony.
I assume that they were audio recording at least. I don't know what exactly they did or did not record.
Okay. Would you agree, Sarge, that the time estimates that you gave us are just that, estimates?
Yes, sir.
And they're estimates in the context of the events as they were unfolding, correct?
Yes, sir.
Could some of your estimates be inaccurate?
Yes, sir.
After all, there was gunfire going on, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I take it that you were in fear of your life when you were on the scene there?
Yes, sir.
Were you in fear that you might get struck by a bullet?
Yes, sir.
You testified you never saw anyone standing on the hood of the suspect vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't see anyone standing on any of the other police vehicles, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you don't even know if the Malibu was still on or off.
I do not
You were
recall.
right in front of the grill, correct?
Yes, sir.
If, in fact, there is testimony and physical evidence showing that there are footprints on the hood of Zone Car 238 and statements that an officer went to check on the condition of the passenger, and that being Cleveland Police Officer Diaz. You didn't see that, correct?
I did not see that.
And if that occurred prior to your doing that 100-yard dash with your shotgun, you didn't see it, correct?
Yes, sir, I did not see
But
that.
that doesn't mean that it did not occur, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you didn't see it, that either happened before you got there or after you got there, correct?
Yes, sir.
You stayed on scene, I think you said, for maybe 4 minutes or so, 4 or 5 minutes?
Grand total from the time that we arrived to the time that we left the scene would probably be about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay. And so within those 4 or 5 minutes, you didn't see any Cleveland police officer getting on 238 and checking on the condition of the passenger, correct?
No, sir.
And you responded, though, when you felt it was safe, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you think it would be reasonable that other Cleveland police officers would approach to do the same thing instinctively that you testified that you did?
Yes, sir.
And if, in fact, Officer Diaz got there before you, he was done with his check and you still had not made it to the front of that car, correct?
It's possible, sir. I don't know.
Okay. Did you see any keys on the hood of the, by the windshield wipers and the windshield of the suspect vehicle?
I do not recall any keys.
Okay. You don't recall or you didn't see any?
I don't recall any,
Okay. One way or the other?
one way or the other.
Okay. Now, I also believe you testified that there could have been, but you're not sure, if there were other marked Cleveland police vehicles parked behind 238 and 217, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there could have been 2 other cars here, but you just don't remember.
I do not recall.
Okay. And if in fact they were there, would their lights have been on, just like everyone else's?
Objection.
But would you believe, I'll rephrase it.
Well, sustained. I mean, he says he doesn't recall.
Okay. In any event, you recall there were emergency flashing lights throughout the entire scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you got out of your car, I think you indicated that the gunfire had started, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you took cover by this other police vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the shots were still ringing out.
Yes, sir.
And when you got there, you recall seeing one other officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you know if there were any other officers in any other area?
I had seen officers in the grassy area further towards the suspect vehicle.
Okay. Did you see them firing their weapons?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you see them approaching?
No, I did not.
Were you looking?
No, I was not.
Okay. So I take it that at some point you saw that there were other officers here, but you're not sure what ultimately they were doing.
As I left my police vehicle and came around the front of my car, I realized that I was in a crossfire situation. I was in a bad situation. I moved to the gray Ford as fast as I could, and when I got there, I got down completely behind it, no peeking.
So you got completely behind it to get cover behind the engine block?
Yes, sir. Near the
Where was
front.
your partner?
Officer Barczyk had gone to the right towards some trees. I had lost track of him at this point.
How do you know he was behind trees?
There were a group of trees in the direction I last saw him.
Okay. So you assume that he was going behind trees. You don't know if he advanced all the way up, do you?
I do not.
Okay. And there's nothing sinister behind your not knowing his exact movements, right?
No, sir.
Because you were just trying to handle what you had and to be safe, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you stayed there until behind this vehicle and undercover behind the engine block until all the shots stopped ringing out?
Yes, sir.
And then you made your way up to the front of the Malibu, correct?
Yes, sir.
And again, it's your testimony that you don't recall if there were any other police vehicles behind 238 and 217, correct?
Objection. Answer. 3 times now.
Well, it is cross-examined. We'll give him one more shot. So overruled.
So now you're running closer, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if there were 2 other police vehicles behind 238 and 217, you would have run right by them, correct?
Yes, sir.
But yet you have no recollection, one
No.
way or the other.
No, sir.
And the fact that you don't have a recollection of any cars in this location, one way or the other, there's nothing sinister to that, right?
No, sir.
Because you were scared as hell, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were approaching and you're thinking about surviving and not taking a bullet, right?
I was very focused.
So you can't say if there were other police officers in these areas or taking cover, you can't say, because your focus was straight ahead, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were the sirens going on these police vehicles?
There were sirens going. I'm not sure which vehicles had the sirens on, which did not.
While you were there, did you notice that some of the sirens were shut off because everything was so loud?
I don't believe every vehicle had their siren on.
So what does that mean? They were shut off at some point, or not all of them were going as you entered the scene?
As I entered the scene, by the time I got all the way up to the Malibu, I do not recall hearing sirens in the immediate area anymore.
Okay. So they could have been shut off?
Yes, sir.
Would that be normal to shut the sirens off because it's very distracting?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, just a couple more. When you were interviewed by the prosecutor, did they ever show you photographs of the scene that were ultimately taken by investigators?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you saw photographs of the Malibu with the 50-some bullet holes in the windshield and the spider webbing, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did some of those photos show the occupants inside that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would you agree that those photographs speak for themselves relative to lighting conditions and how things were depicted from the vantage point in front of the Malibu, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. Do you have an estimate, Mr. Gutierrez? Do you have anything, first of all?
Like, two questions.
All right, so we'll conclude this witness and we'll take a break. So, do you have any redirect, Mr. Gutierrez?
Judge, first of all, as an officer of the court, I want to let the defense know and the court know there was no audio or video recording of this individual. A prosecutor's office does not have any audio or video recording equipment that is hidden. So if somebody's video or audio recorded, it's in plain view. And as far as Sergeant Flanagan goes, it was never recorded. I just wanted to state that for the record. Mr. D'Angelo said you were scared as hell when you were in this, correct?
Yes, sir.
Aren't you trained for these situations?
Not this exact one, but yes, I've received police training.
You're trained for deadly situations, for use of force, correct?
Yes, sir.
You believe that you followed at least some of your training?
Objection,
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Oh,
In the sense that you were here behind cover, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't leave cover until ceasefire was said twice, correct?
Yes, sir.
No more further questions.
thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Any recross based only on those, Mr. D'Angelo?
Oh, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. Sir, thank you for coming here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're excused. Is there a lawyer here from Euclid Business Park? Is that your case, Chris?
Yes,
thank you. So, well, let's go off the record, but stay here for a minute. So we're off the record. I have to do a short civil trial. I think I'm going to need Ms. Schuler or Mr. Abedini's services for that, and then they're entitled to a break. So this break, let's plan on resuming at 20 till. If it's a little longer than that, I apologize. But if you're ready by 20 till 11, I'd appreciate it. Can one of you cover this? It should be a... Probably right at